What's up, good people? Thank you so much for stopping by to my YouTube channel. In case you're new here, make sure you remember to subscribe and click on the notification bell to always receive an alert of every video we do upload in our YouTube channel. Now, in today's topic, we are just going to talk. Yes, if somebody ever told you that life is difficult, that person lied to you. And also, if somebody ever told you that life is easy, that person also lied to you. The easiness and difficultness of life all depends on an individual. It's all about your mentality, what you think about life. If you start seeing things difficult, of course they'll be difficult. And once you start seeing them easy, they'll be easy. A story is told of two young boys who grew up in the same village. They did everything together. Their families were so poor to support them, and therefore they couldn't go to good schools. They ended up in a government school, where in this case the government school that was closer to their homes or in their village didn't have most facilities. They used to study under a tree because they didn't have classrooms. So even chairs, they didn't have desks, they didn't have tables, they didn't have anything for themselves. Most times they studied under trees, sitting on stones. During bad weather, they will all run to the available classrooms within the school compound, and the extra students will run to the staff room where teachers were staying, all because they wanted to seek shelter from the heavy rains. Now it was so difficult for them. Getting food was also difficult. They didn't want to stress their families. So these boys decided to rent a house for themselves. They would struggle so much to raise money to survive through working for people. Sometimes they would go fishing, sometimes they would go farming on people's farms. At the end of the day, they will get money. The money that they will get, they will use it to pay for their rent, which was not so expensive. You know, houses in the village are not so expensive. They're so cheap, actually. They're very affordable. And so they will the money they would make from the works that they got, they will pay rent, they will buy food, they will also buy school equipment that they needed for themselves to study. And then they completed their primary education and they did their secondary education. After their KCSE examination, they didn't get good grades, so they had to think of an alternative. Their parents couldn't afford to take them to university or college for higher education because the school fee was so high. They couldn't make it. Now these boys had to think of what to do. They decided to go to town to go and make ends meet, and by then the town that was in their mind was Nairobi. So they decided to go to Nairobi to see if they could make ends meet. In Nairobi, life was not easy because things are very expensive, unlike back in the village where everything was cheap. Rent was so cheap. In Nairobi, the rent was 4 times higher than whatever they used to pay in the village. Food commodities that they will get freely back in the village, in Nairobi it was expensive. One day, they never gave up. These two boys never gave up. They continued working very hard to make ends meet. One thing I loved about these two boys is that they were so determined. They both had visions for their lives. Now, before they slept every night, they would draw plans for their day, so that whenever they woke up the following day, it was so difficult. They had a plan for their lives. They would live according to whatever they had decided to do. While growing up, everybody had different ambitions for their lives. So every day they would wake up and go in different directions to go seek employment. One day, God helped them, God answered their prayers, and they got good jobs for themselves. Jobs that could help them pay rent and do what and stuff. After a short while, they saw there was the house they were staying in was now becoming small, and they decided to separate ways. Everybody to go and stay on their own, which was a good plan for them, because now once they will stay on their own, for the fact that they were men, they could now bring in girls if they wanted, and because they were at that age when they wanted to try new things. They wanted to try marriage life, they wanted to try family life, you know. Person separating their ways was a good plan, or was a good calculated thought for the two boys. 2 years afterwards, these two boys happen to bump on each other again, and then they meet and to discuss about their success. They were so excited because all of them were living they were living good. They had the money, they had good life, they had good houses, they had good families. Life was good, moving on well for them. And then they were happy, they were so excited. And again, after 2 other years, after 2 more years, they happened to meet again. But this time, there was a challenge, there was a problem. Life had not been so good for the one of the boys, because let me give them boy A and boy B. Now for boy A, life was so good for him. Life had been moving on well for him. Unfortunately, for boy B, life was not good on his side. And when they met 4 years afterward, after separating ways from staying with each other, actually 2 years after their previous meeting, life was not easy, and they decided to discuss what was the problem. Boy B, who life was not easy for him, decided to open up to boy A because they were friends, and he told him, I thought having money was the best thing in this life. I thought it would answer all questions, but I don't know. I thought it was too much for me. The money was too much for me. I decided to get into some kind of a lifestyle that actually interfered with my life, and thereby forcing me to actually lose it all. After meeting different girls, spending my money on pleasure and leisure, I lost it all. I lost my job because I one day reported to work drunk. After several warnings from my boss, I lost my job. The wife that I had left me because she could not continue staying with me because I was becoming poorer and poorer. The house that I was staying in, I lost it because the landlord closed it. I could not continue paying for the rent. The bills became too high for me, so I lost the house. Bro, I right now stay in a single-roomed house, and I'm struggling to even raise food to eat, leave alone rent. Bro, you should help me. But before you help me, how did you make it? How have you managed to keep it up? And then boy A, shocked and surprised, tells him, me, once I got my money, I decided to involve in activities in the church. I went to church, I went to join the praise and worship, and I've been participating in church. I always give my tithe, I always pay my offerings, I do not forget God. And besides that, I have a good wife. Everything that I do, she supports me. She gives back well. She does her duty well. She also got a good job, and I'm happy to inform you that we have a kid who is still young, about 8 months now, and I'm glad that God has been faithful on my side. Good. What is the lesson from our story? Boy A made it in life because he kept true to his word, he kept true to his ambitions, and he made it in life. For boy B, he misused his money and later realized that Nairobi is not his mother's home. He had to struggle and he lost it all. He lost it all because whatever he was spending was much than whatever was coming in. At the end of the day, he lost it. The friends that he had, the people he called his friends, left him. They ran away from him because those were seasonal friends. They were only there because of whatever he had. He lost it all, and here he was, back to zero. What a sad life. Brother, my sister, father or mother watching me today or listening to me today, make sure that you never abuse the privileges that you come across in your life, because life is all about not being where you are every day. People are struggling to get a better life, but here you are, there you are, struggling to enjoy the better life you have. If God happens to give you a better life that you've been looking for, be careful how you spend, be careful who you hang around, be careful how you treat even the people around you, and be careful not to break the ladder that you used to climb up. The story of these two boys really touches my life. I don't know what boy are you. Are you boy A or are you boy B? What is life to you? After testing poverty and testing richness, which one would you think is the best? Do you want to go back to the poverty that you are in? If you want to, then the quickest way is living a life like the life that boy B lived. But if you want to continue shooting up, check the life that boy A lived and you shall make it. Until next time, this is Devance Empire. End of discussion.